Tonight's class, we focused on the question, what do you do if you keep trying and it seems like maybe God has a different script than yours? Hope you enjoy, and if you can, drop a like. Thank you.
And his dads and his grandmas. And so what we tried to do was for like anything that was like heirloomy, we tried to give to like my husband's sister and the cousin, stuff from his grandma. And then for stuff that was like mine from when I was like a little kid, I just can't give it up. It just lives in a box. And Nathan said, it's all it's going to do. It's always going to live in a box. I says, I know, but someday we're going to be old. My siblings are going to be gone. My parents are going to be gone. And I'm going to want to pick up stuff of like happy childhood memories of like these special times with my parents and my sisters. And so for me, it's like, it's not in celebration of the holiday, but it's like, I can't bear to think that when I'm 90, I'm not going to want to be able to like pick that up and hold it in memory of like the happy memories. So that's where we're at the moment. But yeah, for now, it just lives in a box. And I told Nathan, it might live in a box for 50 years, but it's in a box.
So God willing, you'll come to the point of being able to decide you have other ways of picking up your childhood when you're 90, because anything in that box, it's still the energy of idolatry.
Really?
It's not what you want in your home. Yeah. Anything is connected to celebrating that holiday is all wrapped up with idolatry. So it's hard if it's entangled with positive, warm childhood memories. And but yeah, maybe you gotta go search your parents' home for other physical traces of your happy childhood, and make an exchange or whatever. Just don't. Yeah. And again, it's a process. It's a process of removing the things that should not be there, but for one reason or another they passed all the purges until now. But yeah, it's any object that has a connection to idolatry has its energy, and that energy sitting in a closet in a box is still emitting its energy in your home, and you don't need that. You don't want that. So
Yeah, I got rid of ours a few years ago, several years ago. But yeah, I was just telling her, she mentioned her child's birthday party, and I said, "What? Yeah, back when we celebrated Christmas, and I had the lights up around the living room, then the kids, I left them up all year round, and the kids enjoyed laying where all those lights were." But she was talking about doing like Hanukkah.
Right. So I heard that.
Hanukkah. Okay. And I was like, well, yeah, that's an idea.
Okay. It's something. It's still in essence taking that energy and just trying to Jewishize it.
No, I mean buying lights that are specifically
right. No, I understand.
Yeah.
This is why I'm glad we have this class, because otherwise we can make up our own stuff.
Right.
So there is no Hanukkah lights, like like string lights that's intended for Hanukkah, like blue and white.
I mean, if they are, it's Jews trying to be like the world, but Jewish style.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be in essence a Jewish way of celebrating. A Jewish way of celebrating is with the pure oil lights of the menorah, not with shining electric blue and white lights, because that would just seem too much like a copycat of what the world around us is doing. That is part of an idolatrous ritual. It's part of it.
Well, it's true that a lot of Christians do have the idea that Hanukkah is just the Jewish Christmas, the Jewish form of Christmas, and they really, some of them really do think that, oh well, they just call it Hanukkah, but it's really their,
Sure. Why should they know our history and know that Hanukkah was enacted a long time before.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know till the last several years, actually, that there really was there was a real story behind it. The Maccabees and, um, you know, taking back the temple and cleansing it and, putting back things back the way it was supposed to be. And I was just like, wow, why have I never heard this before?
I hear you. I think the first time I'd ever heard of it was on Friends, like the backstory. I'm not kidding.
That's good. Which again, it doesn't mean that that's our mission, to make sure the world knows the authenticity of Hanukkah and it's not a copycat holiday. But definitely, I'm saying for yourselves, I mean, now we're almost in August, we still have quite a while away. But yes, once it gets into that December and starting in the end of November season, listen, even though America is not heavily religious in its celebration, most Americans are not religious. It's more culture and fun and parties and gifts, but it does make a difference. Even the people are totally not religious, have any religious intention, it's just a party, but its roots is idolatry. And therefore anything connected to that is part of celebrating idolatry, an idolatrous holiday, which again, is hard. It's hard if you have family, it's hard if you have memories, but that's really what it is. And again, closer to the time, we'll probably maybe review some of the laws, which will be fresh in our minds. But yes, anything along those lines, any of the holidays, all of Christianity is rooted in idolatry. And
yeah, it sounds like we're going to need the review.
We will do it. About November time, because already in November, since it's such a commercial holiday, so commercialized already, it's happening. And yeah.
Goodness, they start in September and October in the stores putting Christmas stuff out. It's like, really? We haven't even had Thanksgiving yet.
All right. Well, that was the intro. That's not what we're officially talking about tonight, but that's fine. Well, the question on the table tonight, let me put out a message that we have started to that. We're here. All right. Everyone knows it's official. We started. Okay.
Come on, come on.
So the question that was asked for today was, it's a real question, and I mean, definitely it's things people grapple with. How do you know when God's plan is different than ours? How do you know to listen, to trust, to make peace when it can be so heartbreaking what your vision is, or versus maybe this is what God's vision is? And or I think it's the same question, just a different window dressing. How do you know when to devote efforts to fix a problem? Or are you supposed to step back and say, this isn't a problem, it's God's plan, and therefore accept it, and therefore live with it? That was the question that we're going to be starting off talking about. So it's a very real question. It's something many, many, many people grapple with. Do I keep pushing for what I think is the right thing? Or am I supposed to give in and say, if this is what's happening, this is clearly, obviously God, and as such, this is the right thing? What are we supposed to do? So we don't know. Is this, my vision is so important and so good, and therefore there's so many barriers, so many obstacles? Or conversely, this is not what God wants, and God wants what he's doing and not what I think. And it's not always clear to us. I had Wednesday night in my class, so many people couldn't get on. I don't know why. For the first time ever, Zoom required them all to put in the password, which, okay, is not a big deal, but then they still couldn't get on. I was off sync. My mouth and my voice did not match. And I just had this sense, well, this class is really important. For someone at least, it's going to be really important. And that's where there's so many barriers for it to actually happen. So sometimes when you are trying and it doesn't happen, that means this is really important. And sometimes it means this is not what God wants from you. Erica, glad you made it. Is this your first time coming on?
Hi, yes.
All right, so this is Erica. Erica.
Yes, it is.
Rebecca and Ruth and Natalie, and hopefully many other people that I don't know where they are. But I'm glad you made it. So we're talking about, Erica, remind everyone, where are you from?
Pennsylvania.
Erica's from Pennsylvania. Becca, where are you from?
Missouri.
This is how we introduce people. Where are you from?
I'm from Missouri.
Missouri. Ruth, where are you at?
Pennsylvania also.
Oh, Pennsylvania also. My gosh, you guys could be neighbors. Wow, look at that. Where are you in Pennsylvania, Ruth?
I'm up at the Poconos. It's called Poconos Country Place.
Okay, Erica, where are you?
I'm in Dallas, so Poconos is right around the corner.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. Okay, listen, chat privately, exchange phone numbers. Something important could be happening from here, not just the class. It's so nice whenever that happens. We had one of the women that was on, she's not on tonight, but she's from some literally like a hick town in Texas. Had nobody. And I don't remember what we were talking about in the class, maybe trust, something. I don't remember the backstory of how we came to this, but somebody's going to get, somebody's going to come near where she lives. She lives in literally like a tiny little village somewhere in Texas. And next class, she said, you'll never believe it. A Noahide moved into town. So, this is unbelievable. And Natalie, where are you from?
Sorry. Boise, Idaho.
Boise, Idaho. Right. I knew that. I knew it all. I just forget. All right. So this is amazing. All right. Ruth and Erica exchange numbers and addresses, and we're going to continue. But I'm glad I asked where you guys are from. I don't always remember to do that, but it's always important because I think one of the wonderful things of this class is just networking. It's just knowing you're not
That's
alone.
awesome. Thank you.
No, it really is, because I feel for myself in thinking of the journey of the Noahide that it's not a loneliness. Jews, Orthodox Jews for sure, live with other Orthodox Jews. We have to have communities. We have to have our own schools, our own, food, our own synagogue, so many things. And, because of the Sabbath, we need all walking distance for a lot of it. So it's very networked communities, and that creates a lot of support within the world around. But for a Noahide, gathered anywhere. So it's wonderful to meet virtually, but to meet and to know you're not alone. And there's many, many, many Noahides out there, and some might be a few minutes drive away. So this is wonderful. So I hope Ruth and Erica are going to follow up. So what we were talking about was, how do we know when what we're doing is what God wants and it's just difficult because it's so important? Or what we're doing is not what God wants, and God wants something else, and there's a different script, and we should just give in to his script and draw up our own. So that's a real question. It's a classical question. It's a difficult question because, again, there's no clear signpost. So I would say, to answer that question, that as long as it seems to us that our vision is the better version of the story, is the more in sync with God version of the story, keep pushing. The sages say that even if a sharp sword is on a person's neck, he should not withhold himself from God's compassion. Meaning, even if you're already on the block, executioner's block, and there's a sword on your neck, you should still believe and trust that the salvation, the better version of the story will occur, and not say, well, I guess I should give in to God's version. Now, obviously, life can lead us in very unexpected places, very unexpected paths. And if you're so led and you realize this is actually better, this is a better story than my script. Here I'm able to be more connected, to serve God better, to serve God deeper, truer, to get my family more on board. So then we gracefully accept this as God's better choice. But as long as that's not the case, as long as it seems that the road approaching is not God's path, we keep pushing, keep believing that our trust, that our spiritual stretch, that our physical efforts will create the change we need. So again, sometimes, and I've definitely experienced this in my own life many times, because something's important, because something's significant, there's a lot of barriers. Like I'm saying, just going back to like last Wednesday's class. Now, why was that class more significant than any other class? I don't know. I guess for someone it was. So obviously it wasn't a question in my head, is God trying to tell me not to give the class tonight? Well, I knew that wasn't an option, so it was very easy to just keep persevering and keep trying to get people on and get off and get on myself to try to get my mouth and my voice in sync, which didn't really happen, but okay. I said, don't look at the picture, just listen to the voice so it doesn't get disoriented. So sometimes it's very clear, sometimes it's not. I've definitely been in situations where like, I don't know, is this so right and that's why there's so many obstacles? Or is this not what God wants and that's why there's obstacles? So it's not always so simple, the answer. But as long as you keep reevaluating and you keep saying, yes, what I'm working toward seems a better version than what I see, what I'm envisioning, what I'm trusting, what I'm pushing for, seems like it will create for us a better life, a life more connected to God, a better way of serving Him. As long as that vision is better than the reality that God's dishing out to you now, keep pushing for it. Keep believing in it. Keep trusting in it. Keep doing what you need to do physically to make it happen. Keep adding enormous spiritual gifts to God to make it happen. Until there comes that point where, you know, there's no choice. There's no option. Like you can't do it. It's not an option anymore. When you know it's not an option anymore, then okay, then you gracefully take up what God has shown you. But as long as it's still an option, keep pushing for it, because the fact that it doesn't seem to be happening doesn't mean it's wrong and doesn't mean it's not what God wants. It could just mean it's really right. And that's why it's so difficult. So here you are and you have this vision and it's not happening. And it really seems almost like impossible to happen. But you know the vision's a lot better than what's happening. Like maybe your vision is health and what's happening is the lack of health. Or your vision is your kids on your page. And as a family, everyone's serving God together and it's not happening. Well, obviously your vision is a lot better than the reality, and it's seemingly a lot more what God would want than the reality. Your vision is that your husband and or you and both have a job and there's enough money that you don't have to think about it, and that's not happening, and there's a lot of financial stress. Well, why would God want you to have that? So sometimes it's very clear to you that your vision seemingly will make a lot more sense and be a lot more in tune and in sync with what God would want for you, you think, than what's happening. So you're pretty sure your vision is better and more right, but it's not happening. And sometimes it seems like it's impossible to happen. So we have to understand that just because it seems like all the odds are against us, just because it seems impossible, doesn't mean it is, because there's a God. And whatever we're trying for, you know, God has far more power than any human intervention. So even though it doesn't seem like the person's going to get healthy, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be the income needed, and it doesn't seem like this person's going to have a happy marriage, and it doesn't seem like their kids are going to be on their page, but God's capable of doing all of the above very easily.